Gerald Ford had been president for 30 days, roughly, taking over from Nixon, who had resigned the month before. And Ford went on television early on a Sunday morning, some of you may remember, and announced that he was giving Nixon a full pardon for Watergate. Now, he went on television early on a Sunday morning, hoping no one would notice. But some people were alert and awake and noticed, not me. I was asleep in a hotel room in New York, and my colleague Carl Bernstein called me up. And he said, "Have you heard?" And I said, "I haven't heard anything. I was asleep." And Carl truly has the ability still to say what occurred in the fewest words with the most drama. And he said, blurted out, "The son of a bitch pardoned the son of a bitch." Even I got it. And at the time, thought there was something really corrupt about the pardon of Nixon. There was an aroma of a deal that Nixon would resign with the guarantee that he would get a pardon, and then Ford would get the presidency. And there was the question, which persists in American history, thank God, of justice. Why does the guy at the top get off and 40 people went to jail? And if you look at the history of this era, when Ford ran in his own right in '76 against Jimmy Carter, he perhaps lost because of the suspicions of the pardon and the aroma, and the Carter, talked about the Nixon-Ford years, and, said that in a sense Nixon and Ford are somewhat the same. And so I thought this for a long time, and then had the chance to do a book that came out, I think in 2000, so it was 25 years later, The Legacy of Watergate in the Presidencies of Ford through Clinton. And I called Gerald Ford up and said, "I'd like to talk to you about the pardon," figuring, there was something undisclosed about all of this, and he would politely or directly say, "I have a golf tournament to go to. Can't talk to you." And instead, he said, "Sure." So I interviewed him for hours in New York City, or at his home in Colorado, or his main home in Rancho Mirage, California. Again, the luxury of time. Had a full-time assistant, went to the Ford Library, got the legal memos about the pardon, interviewed everyone who was alive about the pardon, read all the memoirs, the contemporary coverage, did a draft, went back to everyone. What really happened here? What is the history of the pardon? And to shorten it, it was Ford who convinced me, quite frankly, who said, "Look, I pardoned Nixon, not for Nixon, not for myself, but for the country. And so let me tell you the world I was living in. It looked like if Nixon was not pardoned, he'd be further investigated, indicted, tried, going to jail. This would be 2 or 3 more years of Watergate." And I think he said at one point, he said, "I'll bet even you didn't want 2 or more years of Watergate." And he said, I had to preempt the process. We were in the middle of the Cold War, serious economic problems, and my sense of the purpose of being president at that moment was to heal and to get Nixon off the front page, off the stage, and this was the way to do it. And I've thought about this, and in the book essentially wrote that it turns out that Ford did the right thing. It was very gutsy. And Caroline Kennedy, the daughter of JFK, called me up and said she and her uncle, Teddy Kennedy, had read this in the book and agreed that what Ford did was gutsy, and she said, we're going to give Gerald Ford the Profiles in Courage Award, named after her late father, the late President John F. Kennedy, and his book.